How dare you speak to me that way?
You are out of line.
Please, let's calm down.
Can you hear that?
They are whispering about her.
In Black CEO goes undercover as a janitor. 5 minutes later, she fires the entire management. Amara Lewis, a brilliant Black CEO, disguises herself as a janitor to secretly observe the company she recently bought. In Chapter 1, she enters as invisible staff, feeling the sting of casual racism and arrogance, while Chapter 2 shows her first encounters with humiliation as managers mock her for daring to speak. Chapter 3 exposes systemic bias in meetings where employees of color are silenced, and in Chapter 4, Amara listens to Rosa, Samuel, and Mr. Johnson reveal their struggles, while noting every injustice in her secret notebook. Chapter 5 escalates as Strickland and Anderson openly insult her and other workers. Unaware, the janitor holds their fate, leading to Chapter 6's breaking point where she publicly defends Tasha, the receptionist, after she is humiliated for her accent and ghetto voice. Then, in the cinematic climax of Chapter 7, Amara removes her disguise before the management team, revealing herself as the true owner and exposing their cruelty. Chapter 8 delivers poetic justice as she fires the corrupt executives in front of the staff, empowering Rosa, Samuel, Tasha, and others with promotions, while Strickland is dragged out in disgrace. Finally, Chapter 9 serves as an epilogue, where the company culture is rebuilt on dignity and truth. Tasha rises into leadership, Johnson retires with honor, and Amara's revolution spreads across boardrooms as a warning and an awakening, proving that silence can be broken, power reclaimed, and justice delivered. Amara Lewis stood before the mirror in her penthouse suite, staring at the reflection that no magazine cover had ever dared to print. The wig was plain, the uniform shapeless, the power suits and diamond cufflinks were gone. She looked ordinary. That was the point. Her assistant's voice echoed in her mind. Are you sure about this? You don't need to stoop this low. You're the CEO. But Amara had seen enough sanitized reports to know something was wrong in her newly acquired subsidiary. Strickland Dynamics. Numbers didn't show cruelty. Spreadsheets didn't show racism. To see the truth, she needed to be invisible. She tied her shoelaces tight, tucked the ID badge that read Janitorial Staff Ann Lewis into her pocket, and whispered, "Let's see how they treat the people they think don't matter." The lobby of Strickland Dynamics gleamed with glass and marble, but the smiles were thin. Amara pushed her cart slowly, watching how eyes slid over her without interest. A receptionist whispered into her headset, not even glancing up. 2 men in suits passed by. One muttered under his breath, "Guess they'll hire anyone now." The other chuckled, "As long as she knows how to scrub a toilet." Their words cut like knives, though their tones were casual. Amara lowered her eyes, masking the storm inside her. She entered the executive hallway, where the air reeked of expensive cologne and entitlement. A manager Medfort's pale, sharp tie stopped her. "You knew?" "Yes, sir." Her voice was soft, practiced. He smirked. "Figures, don't wander too close to the conference rooms. We've got important people in there." Amara nodded silently, gripping the mop handle like a weapon she wasn't allowed to use. Minutes later, laughter erupted from behind a glass wall. Amara wiped the same spot on the floor, pretending to be focused, while her ears caught every word. "Another diversity application. Can you believe it? God, they keep pushing this equity nonsense. Please, like any of them could handle real responsibility." A woman's voice cut in, "Relax, they're good for the cleaning crew. Keeps the rest of us from dealing with the mess." Laughter again, cruel and easy. Amara pressed the mop harder into the tiles. Her jaw ached from holding it shut. 5 minutes into her undercover shift, she had already heard enough to know the rumors were true. This wasn't just unkindness, this was rot. She rolled her cart down the hallway, past closed doors, hiding closed minds. Each step deepened her resolve. 5 minutes, she thought. That's all it took for them to show their true faces. Her disguise wasn't just fabric and wig, it was armor, and behind it Amara Lewis was taking names. The break room smelled of burnt coffee and microwaved leftovers. Fluorescent lights buzzed faintly above, casting everything in a pale, unforgiving glare. Amara pushed her cart in quietly, wiping crumbs from the counter. Nobody noticed her, at least. Not as a person. At the center table sat 3 mid-level managers, their lanyards swinging like badges of superiority. "Did you see the new janitor?" one asked, smirking. "The black one," another replied. "Yeah, Figures, they're always hiring more of them. Amara's hand froze on the rag. Cheap labor, the third added, stirring sugar into his coffee. That's all they're good for. They laughed softly, like it was an inside joke. A Latina woman in a faded uniform entered with her lunch. She kept her head low, sliding into a corner seat. One of the managers raised his voice deliberately. Careful now, don't burn the food again. The whole floor smelled like tacos last week. The other two burst into laughter. The woman flinched but said nothing. She ate quickly, mechanically, eyes fixed on the table. Amara's stomach turned. Silence, she knew, was a survival strategy. A tall Nigerian janitor walked in next. He greeted politely. Good afternoon, sirs. One manager wrinkled his nose. Afternoon. Don't you mean afth? Man, you guys and your accents. The other chimed in. Stick to mopping, buddy. Leave the English to us. The Nigerian man stiffened, his knuckles whitening around the strap of his lunch bag. He forced a small smile and sat across from the Latina woman. Amara wanted to scream, but she forced herself into stillness. She had come here to watch, to listen, to collect truth. The managers carried on, their voices sharp knives, dressed as banter. You know what I heard? They've been trying to push a black guy from IT into a supervisor role. Please, can you imagine him leading a meeting? The clients would think we were running a charity. More laughter. Amara moved closer, pretending to refill the sugar canister. Their words fell heavy, ugly, unfiltered. Honestly, this company's gotten soft. Too many quotas, not enough talent. They'll never learn. Diversity is just code for lowering standards. The Latina janitor shifted uncomfortably. The Nigerian stared at his food, not tasting it. Finally, the Latina woman whispered, almost to herself, people just want to work. One of the managers heard. What was that? She froze. I said, her voice faltered. We just want to work. He leaned back, grinning. Then smile while you clean sweep. Makes it easier for the rest of us. His friends chuckled. The Latina woman bit her lip so hard it drew blood. Amara's rag twisted in her hands. Her disguise forced her silence, but inside, her heart roared. This is not ignorance. This is cruelty woven into every breath they take. When the managers finally left, the room exhaled. The Nigerian janitor muttered, one day, God will answer. The Latina woman wiped her eyes quickly, whispering, don't, they'll hear. Amara spoke for the first time, her voice careful, measured. Do they always talk like that? The two janitors looked at her warily. The Nigerian asked, you're new? Yes. The Latina hesitated, then nodded slowly. Yes, every day. Some worse. Why doesn't anyone report it? Amara asked. The Nigerian gave a bitter laugh. Report to who? Them? HR? They're the same. If you complain, you disappear from the schedule. The Latina added softly. Or your hours get cut until you quit. The silence that followed was louder than any laughter. Amara felt the weight of their survival silence, lowered heads, swallowed dignity. She wanted to say, I own this building, I can change this in one command. But she swallowed it down, too soon, too easy. She needed the cancer fully exposed. Instead, she whispered, it shouldn't be like this. The Latina looked at her, eyes weary but searching. No, but it is. The break room door creaked open again. A different manager stepped in, glancing at the workers with disdain. Lunch is over, he snapped. Back to your stations. And you, his finger jabbed toward Amara, make sure you clean the executive floor before the meeting. Don't leave streaks. We've got real people coming through. Yes, sir, Amara said, lowering her eyes as the door shut. The Nigerian muttered under his breath, real people, and what are we? Amara clenched her fists around her rag. They don't know yet, but they're about to find out. That afternoon, as she pushed her cart back down the corridor, the echoes of laughter still haunted her, but beneath the sting of every insult, another sound grew louder. Her resolve, steady as a drumbeat. Their whispers may fill the break room, she thought, but my voice will thunder across this building, just not yet. The conference room gleamed with polished oak and chrome chairs, walls lined with awards boasting innovation and excellence. But Amara, pushing her cart inside to empty the bins, saw only hypocrisy in the glass trophies. The executives filed in 6 men, 2 women, all white, all crisp suits and expensive watches. Not one of them acknowledged her presence. To them, she was background noise, like the hum of the air conditioning. She moved silently, wiping the table as their conversation began. All right, said the man at the head, Mr. Strickland, the founder's son. His voice was smooth but dripping with arrogance. First item, promotions. We've got 3 supervisor slots opening. A woman manager replied. HR sent us a list of candidates. 2 are diversity picks. Laughter rippled. Diversity picks. Another echoed. Oh, you mean the checkbox hires? Exactly. Amara's grip tightened on the spray bottle. They're pushing that black guy from IT again. Someone said, what's his name? Olamide. Yeah, that one. Look, he's good with computers, but come on, a supervisor. Imagine him in front of a client. The optics alone. A man snorted. Optics. Clients want to see competence. Not, he hesitated, then lowered his voice, though not enough. Not someone who looks like he just got off the boat. Amara wiped the same corner 3 times. Each word a hammer blow. Another voice chimed in. Slick with self. We've got to be strategic. Promote 1 woman, maybe, keeps the critics quiet, but the rest, keep it safe. We can't afford to scare shareholders with experiments. Experiments. That's what they called people who didn't look like them. Amara's chest ached. She glanced at her reflection in the polished surface, her plain wig, her uniform, the disguise that made her invisible. They spoke so freely because they believed she wasn't real enough to matter. The woman manager laughed. Speaking of experiments, did you see the janitorial roster? Half of them can't even speak English properly. Oh, I know. I asked one to bring me a towel last week, and he brought a mop. How do you mess that up? Simple. Don't hire them in the first place. The table erupted in laughter. Amara's knuckles turned white against the rag. Her silence wasn't weakness, it was ammunition. Every word they spilled was a weapon. She would turn back on them. Mr. Strickland leaned back, voice low and conspiratorial. Truth is, this company works because we keep things orderly. We don't rock the boat. That means keeping leadership clean, professional, understand. A chorus of agreement. And for the cleaning crew, he added, smirking, as long as they show up, keep their heads down, and don't cause trouble. I don't care where they're from, but don't you dare start thinking they belong upstairs. More nods. Exactly. Upstairs is for us. Amara's rag stilled us. That single word carried centuries of exclusion, generations of walls built to keep people like her outside. She glanced around the table, memorizing faces, voices, every sneer hidden beneath polite laughter. One manager leaned forward. We should also talk about cutting hours. Labor costs are high. Trim a few shifts. Push the older janitors out. Hire fresh ones, cheaper. Good idea. They're replaceable. Nobody notices who mops the floor. Exactly, replaceable. Amara wanted to stand, to tear off her disguise and shout, notice me now, but she didn't. Not yet. Instead, she straightened, gathered the trash bags, and wheeled her cart out slowly, like a ghost gliding through their arrogance. None of them paused their conversation. None of them even looked up. The door shut softly behind her. In the hallway, her breath came sharp, controlled. Every nerve in her body burned with rage, but her mind was ice. Now I know. This isn't a few bad apples. It's the tree, the soil, the whole orchard poisoned. She leaned against the cart, closing her eyes. The voices echoed in her skull. Checkbox hires. Not someone who looks like that. Replaceable. Each phrase carved deeper into her resolve. Later, in the janitorial closet, she sat on an upturned bucket, scribbling notes into a small leather-bound notebook hidden in her pocket. She wrote every insult, every policy, every demeaning joke, word for word. Names, dates, exact quotes. This was no longer just reconnaissance. It was evidence. She whispered to herself, if they think I'm invisible, then they'll never see the moment I destroy them. The fluorescent bulb flickered overhead. Amara's shadow stretched across the wall, silent, steady, gathering strength. The executive floor always smelled of polish and power. Carpets thick enough to swallow sound. Offices lined with frosted glass. Amara pushed her cart quietly, head bowed, blending into the silence. But today, the silence didn't last. Hey, janitor. The voice cracked through the hall. A manager in a navy suit, Anderson, she remembered, beckoned her with a smirk. A paper cup dangled from his hand, coffee dripping down its side. Yes, sir, Amara said softly. He tipped the cup over, spilling dark liquid across the cream-colored carpet. The stain spread instantly. Clean that up. His tone was playful, cruel. Let's see if you're worth the paycheck. Amara knelt slowly, rag in hand. She could feel eyes turning toward the employees peeking out of glass offices, whispers rising like smoke. Another manager, blonde hair slicked back, stepped closer. Careful, Anderson. Don't scare her off. You know how these people get when you embarrass them. These people, Anderson echoed with a grin. Relax. It's not like she's gonna complain to HR. Laughter. Amara pressed the rag into the carpet, scrubbing gently. Her disguise kept her safe, but her dignity screamed for air. More voices joined. She missed a spot. Yeah, right there. No, not there. God, she's slow. What do they even teach them before they get here? Amara's jaw clenched. She moved with precision, but each comment cut deeper than the stain she scrubbed. One man leaned against the wall, sipping his coffee. You know, she's probably used to this. Bet she's been scrubbing floors her whole life. The laughter swelled, filling the hall. Through the glass walls, a young receptionist stood frozen, clutching a stack of files. Her eyes darted from the managers to Amara, then back again. She wanted to say something. Amara could see it in the tremble of her lips, but fear pinned her silent. The humiliation wasn't just hers, it was everyone's. Every minority worker who had swallowed an insult. Every immigrant who had bent their back to keep their job. This was ritual, performance management, asserting who mattered and who didn't. Amara scrubbed harder, letting the silence around her sharpen like a blade. Anderson crouched suddenly, close enough that Amara could smell his cologne. He whispered, but loud enough for others to hear. Don't get too comfortable here. People like you don't last long upstairs. The hall chuckled again. Amara lifted her eyes for just a second, locking onto his. Calm, steady. It unsettled him just for a flicker. He straightened, clearing his throat. Come on, another manager said, clapping his hands. Let's get to the meeting. Leave her to her calling. They walked off, still laughing. The hall emptied slowly. Amara remained on her knees, finishing the stain. Her hands were steady, but her chest burned. The receptionist approached cautiously, voiced low. Are you okay? Amara looked up, offering the smallest smile. Yes, thank you. The receptionist bit her lip. I'm sorry, I should've. She stopped, glancing around nervously. If I said something, they'd. I know, Amara interrupted gently. You don't have to explain. The receptionist nodded quickly and scurried away. Shoulders hunched. Alone again, Amara sat back on her heels. The stain was gone, but the echo of laughter lingered. She whispered to herself. They think this is power. Her disguise shielded her anger, but inside, she catalogued every detail. The names, the smirks, the receptionist's silence. This wasn't just cruelty. It was culture, a system designed to humiliate, to remind people of their place. But they had forgotten one thing. She wasn't really in her place. She was in theirs. Later, in the janitor's locker room, Amara found the Nigerian man from before, Samuel, changing out of his gloves. His shoulders sagged with exhaustion. You saw it, he said quietly, without looking at her. I did. They do it often. Pick one of us. Make a show. Keeps everyone afraid. Amara nodded slowly. And no one ever speaks up. Samuel laughed bitterly. Speak up. You'll be out the door before the words finish. Another janitor, an older black man with gray in his beard, added from the corner. I've been here 15 years. Same pay, same hours. I've seen dozens of good people pushed out. Speaking up is a luxury. Amara sat down, her rag still damp in her hands. What if, she asked softly, someone didn't stay silent? The room stilled. Eyes turned toward her, wary, skeptical. Samuel shook his head. Then that person better have somewhere else to go, or they'll be broken. Trust me, I've watched it. The older man sighed. It's not about one voice, it's the whole system. And systems don't change for us. Amara absorbed their words, each one a map of wounds carved into flesh and memory. She didn't argue, not yet. That night, back in her penthouse, she removed the wig and uniform. In the mirror, the CEO stared back at her, power restored, but not untouched. She touched the place on her chest where the laughter had struck hardest. This is more than a company, she whispered. It's a battlefield. She opened her leather notebook again, adding a new page. Exhibit 4, Public Humiliation of Staff. Racial undertones, the silent complicity of employees. The ink bled slightly into the paper, as if the words themselves carried weight. Amara closed the book, her reflection watching with steady eyes. They think today was their test. She smoothed the wig on the stand beside her, her disguise waiting patiently. But tomorrow, I'll test them. The janitor's locker room was dim, lit by a single buzzing bulb. Lockers were dented, paint peeling, the air heavy with detergent. It was a place of exhaustion, of survival. Amara entered quietly, still in her uniform. A few workers sat slumped on benches, eating late dinners from plastic containers. Their bodies told stories of hard labor, aching shoulders, calloused hands, tired eyes. She hesitated, then spoke softly. "Mind if I sit?" The older black janitor, with gray in his beard, Mr. John. Plenty of space, though not much comfort. Amara sat, folding her hands in her lap. Silence stretched until Samuel, the tall Nigerian, broke it. "You're new," he said, studying her. "I am. Then you better learn quick." His tone was flat. Weary. A younger woman across the bench let out a bitter laugh. She was maybe 20, with dark hair pulled into a messy bun. Her accent carried traces of Mexico. "Learn what? How to shut up and keep moving," she said. "That's the only rule here." Mr. Johnson gave her a look, gentle but warning. "Rosa, no, let me talk," Rosa snapped, though her voice trembled. "I came here thinking I could work hard, send money home, maybe save enough for school, but every day they make me feel like trash. They call me names, laugh at my accent. Last week one manager told me, 'This isn't Taco Bell, keep it clean.'" Her eyes glistened. She wiped them quickly, embarrassed. Samuel sighed. "They cut my hours last month. No reason. Just said, budget changes. But I know why. Because I asked about overtime pay. Next day, my schedule was half." Mr. Johnson leaned back, his voice heavy with decades of resignation. 15 years. I've been here 15 years. Never missed a shift. Never complained. You know how many times I applied for supervisor? 5. You know who got the job? Fresh faces, white faces. Every time. The room fell quiet. "They told me once," he continued, "I wasn't leadership material, but I trained the men who became my bosses." Amara's throat tightened. She looked from Rosa's tears to Samuel's bitterness to Johnson's quiet defeat. "These stories," she whispered, "do they ever get reported?" Rosa laughed bitterly. "Reported? To who?" "HR. They work for the managers. You complain, you disappear." Samuel nodded. "I knew a guy Moloch. He reported being called the N-word. Next week, they said he wasn't performing. Fired him." Johnson rubbed his temples. "The system isn't broken, miss. It's working exactly how they want it to." Amara's chest burned. She wanted to tear off the wig, stand tall, and declare, "The system ends tonight." But she held her silence, letting their voices fill the air. Rosa whispered, "Sometimes I wonder if it's worth it. Maybe I should just go back home." Samuel shook his head. "No. You're stronger than you think. That's what they want for us to give up, to vanish, but we endure." Johnson gave a hollow chuckle. "Endure, that's all we do." The silence that followed was thick, suffocating. Amara broke it gently. "You've all been carrying this for so long," she said softly. "Doesn't it feel heavy?" Rosa nodded, eyes wet. "Every day," Samuel muttered. "Heavy, yes. But what choice do we have? You speak up, you lose your job. You stay quiet, you lose yourself. Either way, you lose." Johnson looked at Amara with tired eyes. "You're young. Don't waste time hoping this place will change. Places like this don't change for us." Amara swallowed hard, fighting the urge to reveal herself. Instead, she leaned forward. "What if one day," she asked quietly, "someone did change it? What if someone stood up?" The janitors exchanged skeptical looks. Rosa shook her head. "Dreams don't pay rent." Samuel's voice was sharp. "And martyrs don't feed families." Johnson simply sighed. "It'd take a miracle." Amara lowered her gaze, hiding the fire in her eyes. "Maybe miracles are just people with enough power to act." She rose from the bench slowly. "Thank you for telling me," she said. Rosa frowned. "Why do you care?" Amara paused at the door, choosing her words carefully. "Because stories like yours shouldn't stay hidden." The workers exchanged puzzled looks, but she didn't explain further. Later that night, in her penthouse, Amara laid the uniform across a chair. It looked heavier than cloth, weighted with every insult, every silence, every story she had absorbed. She opened her notebook again, the pages already filled with inked wounds. Tonight she added 3 new entries. Rosa harassment about accent, racial slurs disguised as jokes. Samuel, hours cut after asking about overtime, retaliation disguised as budget. Johnson, 15 years denied promotion, systematic discrimination in leadership. Amara stared at the words until they blurred. Then she whispered, "They think these voices are whispers, but I'll make them thunder." She closed the notebook, her resolve unshakable. Tomorrow, she knew, would not be a day of listening. Tomorrow would be a day of warning. The Monday meeting buzzed with the usual stiffness, executives in suits, mid-level managers clutching clipboards, assistants scribbling furiously. The receptionist, a young black woman named Tasha, hurried in with a stack of handouts. Her hands shook slightly, but she smiled politely as she passed the papers around. One manager frowned. "What is this font? It looks childish." "I copied it from the template," Tasha stammered. He scoffed. "God, can you try not to make us look unprofessional? Honestly, this is what happens when they let anyone work the front desk." The room, TENSED. Another manager chuckled. "I told you before, she's too ghetto for this job. Just listen to her voice when she answers calls. Clients probably think we're running a hip-hop hotline." Laughter broke across the table, sharp and cruel. Tasha froze, her face burning crimson. Her lips parted, but no sound came. Amara, standing by the corner with her mop, felt every word like a blade. The man in charge waved dismissively. "You're lucky we're short-staffed, Tasha. Otherwise, I'd replace you tomorrow. Try to keep it professional if you even know what that means." Tasha's eyes filled, but she blinked furiously, refusing to let tears fall in front of them. Silence choked the room. Employees stared at their no one dared to defend her. No one except Amara. Her voice cut through, low but steady. "Maybe professionalism isn't about the font or the accent." Heads snapped toward her. The manager's brow furrowed. "Excuse me." Amara kept her eyes down, rag in hand. "I just mean, respect goes further than ridicule." "Sir." The word sir landed like an insult, wrapped in politeness. The room rippled with tension. A few employees glanced at each other nervously. The manager laughed, incredulous. Did the janitor just correct me?" Another smirked. "Looks like it. Bold for someone scrubbing floors." "Maybe she thinks she's better than her job," one muttered. "Better watch that attitude. People like her don't last here." The laughter swelled again, trying to drown out the disruption. Amara stayed silent now, her gaze fixed on the table. She had said enough. Tasha clutched the remaining handouts, her shoulders trembling. She glanced toward Amara, their eyes meeting for the briefest moment. Gratitude flickered in the receptionist's gaze. Small, but real. It was enough. The manager at the head cleared his throat. "All right, back to the agenda. Ignore the noise." Noise. That's what they called her. That's what they called everyone they didn't want to hear. The rest of the meeting blurred. Discussion of profits, schedules, budget cuts. To Amara, the words were meaningless. All she heard was the echo of that laughter. The phrase, "to ghetto," the silence of every witness. Her notebook in her pocket felt heavy, its pages burning with testimony. She thought, if silence is survival, then speaking is revolution. After the meeting, in the hallway, whispers followed her. "Did you hear her?" The janitor talking back. "Crazy. Doesn't she know her place? She won't last a week." Amara rolled her cart slowly, each comment adding weight to her disguise. She let them talk, let them build their own rope. Back in the locker room, Rosa rushed to her. "You spoke up," Rosa whispered, eyes wide. "Why, don't you know what that means?" Amara met her gaze. "It means someone heard the truth, even if only for a second." Samuel shook his head grimly. "Truth doesn't feed families. They'll come for you now." Mr. Johnson sighed, his voice low. "You've marked yourself. They don't forget." Amara placed her rag on the bench, her tone calm. "Then let them remember, because I will." The janitors stared at her, unsettled by her calmness. None of them knew the storm she carried in silence. That night, Amara stood before her mirror again. She slid the wig from her head, revealing her natural curls, regal and defiant. The CEO looked back at her, not the janitor, not the invisible worker, the woman with the power to burn down empires. She whispered to her reflection, "They wanted me to know my place. They'll know it soon enough." The executive boardroom was a cathedral of glass and steel. A long mahogany table stretched across the room, gleaming under soft lights. At its head sat Mr. Strickland, son of the founder, radiating entitlement. Around him, the management team adjusted their suits and skirts, sipping mineral water like royalty awaiting court. Amara entered quietly, pushing her janitor's cart. The disguise still clung to her plain wig, gray uniform, worn sneakers. To them, she was invisible. "Clean later," one manager snapped without looking up. "We're about to start." "Yes, sir," Amara replied, her voice steady, but she didn't move. Mr. Strickland cleared his throat. "All right, team, let's review quarterly projections before you begin," Amara said softly. "There's something I need to say." Heads lifted, brows furrowed. A ripple of annoyance passed around the table. "What?" Anderson scoffed. We don't have time for interruptions from staff. Amara's eyes swept the room, calm and deliberate. This won't take long. Sit down, Strickland ordered, or leave. But Amara didn't leave. Instead, she reached up with slow, deliberate movements. First came the wig. She pulled it off, letting her curls tumble free. The plain, forgettable mask vanished. What remained was regal, undeniable. The room stilled. What the one manager whispered. Amara shrugged off the gray uniform jacket. Beneath it, a tailored blouse clung to her frame. Simple, elegant, powerful. Her posture shifted, not hunched, not meek. She stood tall, shoulders square, gaze unflinching. I am Amara Lewis, she said. Silence fell heavy, suffocating. You may know my name. You should. I'm the woman who bought this company 3 months ago. Gasps erupted. That's impossible, Anderson stammered. The new owner, she's black, Amara finished, arching a brow. Yes, surprised. Mouths hung open. Strickland's face drained of color. You, he sputtered. You've been here, Amara interrupted, her voice slicing through his panic. Yes, for weeks. Mopping your floors, emptying your bins, listening. Her eyes swept the table. I heard everything, every joke, every slur, every plan to keep leadership clean, every story of ours cut, promotions denied, dignity stripped away. I heard you laugh while you spilled coffee on the floor and ordered me to kneel. Her voice never rose, but the silence made it thunder. One woman tried to recover, her smile brittle. Miss Lewis, with this is a misunderstanding. Office humor, nothing more. Amara cut her off. Office humor is calling a receptionist to ghetto, telling a janitor to stick to mopping, referring to employees as experiments. The woman wilted. Another man tried to stand, his voice oily. We didn't mean, you did. Amara's gaze pinned him. You meant every word. Because words like yours don't slip by accident. They reveal, they expose, and you have exposed yourselves. Strickland slammed a hand on the table. This is outrageous. You can't come in here pretending to be pretending. Amara's laugh was sharp, cold. Pretending is what you've done, pretending to be leaders, while you exploit, belittle, and abuse. Pretending this company is a place of excellence while you rot it from within. The younger employees seated at the far end shifted uneasily, glancing at one another. Some bit back smiles, tiny sparks of hope ignited by Amara's words. Tasha, the receptionist, lingered by the door, eyes wide. When Amara met her gaze, she gave the smallest nod, emboldening her. You should all be ashamed, Amara said, turning back to the table. But I know shame is foreign to you. You've thrived on silence, on people too scared to speak. But silence ends today. Anderson rose, his face red. You don't understand how business works. I understand perfectly, Amara cut in. I built an empire from nothing, while men like you said I didn't belong in the boardroom. I've faced bigger men with sharper knives, and I'm still here. Her eyes swept the table. But you're finished. A nervous laugh broke from one of the women. You can't fire us all. You need us. Amara leaned forward, voice low and lethal. Need you. I've watched you do nothing but poison this place. The people who keep this company running aren't in this room. They're the ones you mock, underpay, and discard. The janitors, the receptionists, the assistants, the engineers you refuse to promote. They are the backbone. You are parasites. Gasps fluttered around the table. Tasha's voice trembled from the doorway, but she spoke. She's right. All eyes turned. Tasha's shoulders shook, but she lifted her chin. You make us feel small, every day, like we don't belong, but we do more for this company than you ever will. Her voice cracked, but the truth held firm. The younger employees murmured in agreement, courage blossoming like wildfire. Amara smiled faintly. See, the silence is breaking. She gathered her jacket, sliding it over her shoulders like a queen donning her robe. Tomorrow morning, she declared, none of you will have offices here. Your resignations will be drafted before you arrive. Consider yourselves dismissed. Chaos, erupted shouts, protests, frantic voices rising in disbelief. You can't do this. This is madness. We built this company. Amara raised a hand, and the noise died. Double quotes. No. The people you trampled built this company. You only bled it dry. And now it's over. She walked toward the door, each step echoing with finality. At the threshold, she turned once more. 5 minutes in your presence was enough to know the truth. 5 weeks confirmed it. And now, 5 minutes from now, you'll all be nothing but a bitter memory. She opened the door. Tasha stepped aside, eyes shining with tears of relief. Amara's voice softened as she addressed, the room one last time. Poetic justice, she said, and it's only the beginning. Then she left them in silence. The next morning dawned cold and gray, but inside the building, tension burned hot. Word had spread like wildfire. The janitor was the CEO. The hallways hummed with disbelief, excitement, and fear. By 9 a.m., the management team filed in, expecting to regain control. Instead, security guards waited at the lobby doors. One by one, they were handed manila envelopes. "What is this?" Anderson demanded. "Termination papers," the guard replied flatly. Inside the envelopes, the truth lay written in black ink. "Effective immediately. Your employment with this company is terminated. Access revoked. Severance forfeited due to cause." "This is illegal," Strickland shouted, waving his papers. "It's justice," Amara's voice rang out. She stepped from the elevator, flanked by Tasha Rosa, Samuel, and Mr. Johnson. No janitor's uniform, no, she wore a dark suit, sharp and commanding. The crown of curls framed her face like a halo of fire. Amara Strickland sputtered. "Be reasonable, reasonable." She raised a brow. "You humiliated workers, cut hours while padding your bonuses, called them names behind their backs, to their faces. Do you want me to read the transcripts?" She tapped her notebook. "I have every word, every meeting, every insult." Gasps spread through the gathered employees. Whispers of "she was listening the whole time" rippled like a wave. Anderson sneered. "You think you're some kind of hero? Without us, this company will collapse." Amara smiled coldly. "Without you, this company will finally breathe." She gestured toward Rosa, Samuel, and Mr. Johnson. "These people, the ones you overlooked, mocked, dismissed, know this building better than anyone. They've been running it while you sat in your chairs. They'll lead with me." Cheers erupted from the crowd of staff who had gathered to watch. Strickland's face twisted. "You won't get away with this. My family built this place. My father, your father, gave opportunities." Amara interrupted. "You've squandered them." "He believed in innovation and people. You believed in exclusion and cruelty. His legacy ends with you." Strickland lunged toward her, but two guards stepped between them. He snarled, red-faced, spittle flying. "You'll regret this." Amara's voice was ice. "The only regret is that it took this long." Tasha stepped forward, her voice shaking but firm. "You called me to ghetto, said I didn't belong." She lifted her chin. "Well, today, I do belong, and you don't." Laughter and applause broke from the staff around her. Tears glittered in her eyes, but she stood tall. Amara touched her shoulder gently. "Never let them define you again." Tasha nodded, strength replacing fear. Samuel, usually quiet, spoke next. "All these years, I kept my head down. I thought silence kept me safe, but silence just kept me chained. Today, I'm free." His words sent a hush through the crowd. Some clapped, some wiped tears. Amara looked at him with pride. "Your voice is power, Samuel. Never trade it again." Mr. Johnson, the elder, adjusted his cap, his weathered hands trembling slightly. "I've been cleaning floors since before half these managers were born. They treated me like furniture. But I knew the dirt wasn't just on the ground. It was in their hearts." The crowd murmured agreement. Amara bowed her head to him. "And today, we sweep it all out." Anderson tried again, voice desperate. "You'll ruin us. Investors will pull out on the contrary." Amara said smoothly, "I've already spoken to them. They've seen the numbers, they've seen your failures, and they support this change." She stepped closer, her presence towering though she never raised her voice. "You're finished. Pack your things. Security will escort you out." The guards moved in. One by one, the managers were ushered toward the doors. Some protested, some cursed, some wept. None were spared. As they passed through the lobby, employees watched with unflinching eyes. No sympathy, no pity, only justice. Strickland was the last. He turned, his voice a snarl. "You think you've won. This is just a building. You'll never change people's minds." Amara's reply was calm, almost gentle. "I don't need to change everyone, just enough to break the silence." And with that, the doors closed behind him. The room erupted. Applause thundered. Cheers echoed. For the first time, the air felt light, as if chains had fallen from the walls themselves. Amara lifted her hands, quieting the crowd. "This is only the beginning," she said. "From today on, this company will be built on dignity, on respect, on truth. We will rise together, or not at all." Her words rolled like thunder, met with a roar of approval. Later, as the crowd dispersed, Rosa whispered, "I never thought I'd see this day." Amara smiled softly. Neither did I, but we made it. Tasha approached, tears spilling freely now. Thank you for seeing us. Amara hugged her tightly. You were always worth seeing. As evening fell, Amara stood alone in her new office glass walls overlooking the city, the skyline blazing with sunset. She placed the notebook on the desk, its pages full of wounds, laughter, cruelty, evidence of a war fought in silence. She closed it gently, whispering, "The silence is broken." And for the first time in a long time, she felt free. Weeks passed. The building, once suffocating with fear and silence, pulsed with new energy. The lobby walls bore new art portraits of workers across departments, celebrating their contributions. A plaque read, "Every hand matters, every voice counts." Gone were the sneers, the whispers, the casual cruelty. In their place, greetings, laughter, eye contact. But the change didn't come easy. Healing never did. Amara sat in her glass-walled office, watching the city bustle. Papers lined her desk, policies rewritten, training programs launched, complaints addressed. She leaned back, exhausted but fulfilled. For every wound she uncovered, she planted something stronger. Tasha knocked gently and peeked in. "You wanted to see me?" "Yes," Amara said, smiling. "Come in." Tasha stepped forward, her nerves still visible, though her steps carried new confidence. Amara slid a folder across the desk. "Congratulations," Tasha frowned. Opening it, her eyes widened. "Assistant manager." Amara nodded. "Your professionalism, your resilience. You deserve more than apologies. You deserve opportunity." Tasha's hands shook as she clutched the folder. "I don't know what to say. Say you'll rise." Amara replied softly. Tasha's eyes glistened. "I will, thank you." Later, in the break room, Rosa and Samuel sat with fresh uniforms, no longer janitorial gray, but navy blue embroidered with new titles, facilities coordinator and operations lead. "You look good," Amara teased as she entered. Samuel laughed nervously. "Feels strange, being noticed." Rosa smirked. "Strange, but good." Amara's gaze warmed. Strange becomes normal. That's how change works. Mr. Johnson shuffled in then, carrying a small box. He set it on the table. "What's that?" Rosa asked. Johnson opened it slowly. Inside lay his old, worn work gloves. "I'm retiring," he said simply, "but I wanted to leave these here. A reminder." The group fell silent. Amara touched the gloves reverently. "You've carried this place for decades. Now, let us carry your legacy." Johnson's eyes softened, pride shining through. "You already have." Not everyone accepted the changes easily. Rumors swirled outside the company. Radical leadership, too much diversity, lowering standards. Reporters pressed Amara, asking if she had gone too far. Her answer was always the same. Justice is not radical. Dignity is not optional. And slowly, public perception shifted. Investors praised the renewed culture. Clients admired the transparency. What once seemed impossible became the company's greatest strength. One evening, Amara returned to the janitor's locker room, the place where it had all begun. The lockers stood silent, but memories echoed, whispered fears, shared stories. Tears stifled in the dark. She sat on the bench, her reflection caught in the old metal mirror. No wig now, no disguise, just herself. Her phone buzzed with an email and invitation to speak at a National Leadership Summit on Equity in Business. She smiled faintly. The irony wasn't lost on her. Suddenly, a soft knock. Tasha peeked in. "You all right?" Amara nodded, just remembering Tasha entered, sitting beside her. "Do you ever regret it?" "Going undercover." Amara exhaled slowly. "Every day, and not once." Tasha frowned. "How can it be both?" "Because it hurt," Amara admitted. "Hearing what I heard, feeling invisible, pretending powerlessness. It broke pieces of me. But it also showed me the truth, and truth is worth the pain." Tasha nodded thoughtfully. "I used to think silence was survival. Now I see it was a cage." Amara smiled softly. "And now I'm free." The words lingered, warm and heavy. As they rose to leave, Tasha paused. "Ms. Lewis." "Yes." Tasha's voice was quiet but certain. "You didn't just save the company. You saved us." Amara's throat tightened. She placed a hand on Tasha's shoulder. "No. You saved yourselves. I just opened the door." The city lights glittered outside as Amara walked to her car. She looked up at the skyline, remembering the faces of those she had fired pale with outrage, spitting threats, stripped of power. She thought of Rosa's laughter, Samuel's courage, Johnson's gloves. Tasha's tears turned into resolve. That was justice. Not revenge, but renewal, she whispered to the night air. The silence is broken. Let it echo. And it did. In boardrooms across the city, whispers of her stories spread. Some mocked, some feared, some were inspired, but everywhere, people began to wonder, what if the invisible are watching? What if the powerless are not powerless at all? For the first time, cracks formed in the walls of arrogance, and through those cracks, light poured in. Amara closed her car door. The city reflected in her windshield. This was not the end. It was only the beginning of a revolution.